Hi, good morning. It's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to my coverage of SpaceX's second attempt to try to launch their PAZ satellite. Well, not their PAZ satellite, but the PAZ satellite. But they're also launching their Microsat 2A and 2B, which is their upcoming global internet constellation. This is their first test of those satellites, which is really, really exciting. This is the second attempt for this launch. They tried to do this exact same thing yesterday. There were upper level wind shears that prevented them from launching. So we're back at it again. They reset to today. We can talk more about wind shears if we need to, but we have a few more things to talk about. This is flying on a reflown Falcon 9 booster, which means this booster has been up to space and back. They did some light refurbishment on it, and it's flying again. It will, however, not be landing. They will not be attempting to land it. We can get into that later too. Let's continue to talk about what this mission is. The other parts of this mission is the expendable. Oh yeah, launches out of Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, and that's any launch that is going into a polar orbit. So an orbit that goes over the north and south poles, or really steep inclination like that. An inclination like, say it's equatorial, that'd be like no inclination. But say it's up over the poles, that's a 90-degree inclination. So this is one of those missions. It's a polar orbit, and so they launched out of Vandenberg Air Force Base, which then goes south over the ocean. And that gets it into its polar orbit. That way you're not flying over populated areas. That's important. And yeah, that's what this mission is. I think it's going to be... Oh, I hope it goes off today. I mean, it's not that surprising, guys. I said yesterday, and I'm going to reiterate it today. I think I had to do it once where I was sitting here talking about the mission and had it scrub, like, during one of my live streams. And that's insane because normally I feel like it's very, very, I mean, scrubs are normal. Scrubs are part of rocket launches. We've been spoiled lately by the past 10 SpaceX launches to have no same day scrubs almost, or no same hour, T-minus 1 hour scrubs. And it's still normal to get down to T-minus 10 seconds, T-minus 0 even, and not see a launch. So yesterday wasn't a big surprise. There's nothing wrong with the rocket. There's nothing wrong with anything like that. So everything's good to go. It sounds like all systems are go today. So, first off, thanks Napalm. Hype for PAZ. Keep pterodactyls alive. Loving the streams, even though it just started. Thank you, Napalm, as always. You're too generous. I hope that you have a great job. Jeez. Thank you. Seriously. Fairings 2.0. Thank you, Lithobreak. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. This vehicle does have fairing 2.0, which, although what I'm going to hold up does not have fairing 2.0 yet. The fairing is this top part that protects the capsule or the payload during ascent. So as it's going through the atmosphere, spacecraft aren't meant to be flying through the atmosphere. They aren't aerodynamic. They're kind of fragile sometimes and frail, and if they got exposed to 1,000-mile-an-hour wind force, they wouldn't hold up very well. That's what the fairing's for, and those fairings are really expensive. And we got a few details about fairing 2.0 yesterday, a couple. It's not anything that special, but we know it's lighter, which is awesome. It's cheaper to manufacture, and it's actually a tiny bit bigger by only a couple inches, kind of on each side, which is strange that they'd even stretch it at all. But it's also meant more for recovery. So don't forget, they're trying to recover these fairings, which is awesome. If they can do that, that's another 10% of the mission cost basically at this point. So it's around $6 million. So if they can recover and reuse those, just bringing the cost down more. And if not bringing the cost down more because they already are the cheapest launch provider, they're increasing their profit margin, which we know that's a good thing. A 10% increase in profit would not be a bad thing. Thank you, Fail Time. Hello, good morning. So what if launch is scrubbed again? Will SpaceX try again tomorrow? Let me see what the backup date is. I think now, because normally they need 2 days. It's to be determined the primary backup day or the backup launch date. But oftentimes, if they do 2 in a row, they need a day of rest for crew. So it most likely wouldn't launch then until Saturday, if it was scrubbed today. So where is PEZ going to? I keep forgetting you're calling it PEZ. Oh, that's going to throw me off. PAZ is going to... thank you, Nate Paul. PAZ is going to polar orbit. So we talked about this yesterday. I'll reiterate again. Today is an instantaneous launch window. Now, this is kind of a hard concept to grasp sometimes, but and I'll try to do a better job of reiterating why that needs to happen. So an instantaneous launch window means that they only have literally 1 second to launch. They have to launch at that exact second. If they're a second early, they won't ever get into orbit, where the intended orbit. And if they're a second late, they'll never get into the intended orbit. It needs to happen at that second. And that's because pretend this bar here is the orbit they're trying to go on. Just pretend it goes all the way around. There. Sorry, I'm not even showing you. Just pretend this is the orbit, right? And it's going all the way around. This is going to stay pointing in the direction it's pointing forever. It will never, like, rotate. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, it's still rotating around, well, not even around the sun, but in the galaxy. No, I think it pretty much stays in the fixed point at all times. The Earth, however, is still spinning, right? And so the mission parameters of this mission need it to be on this exact little sliver. That's the amount of space it's supposed to be in at this exact altitude. All these, that's its mission parameter. And so when they launch, as the Earth spins here in California, if they don't take off right when it's lined up with its orbit, it will never get there. All of a sudden it'll go over here, and now that orbit would be like right next to it. And they just you don't have the delta V, you don't have the room to make up for a missed orbit like that. So it has to be instantaneous. That's what today's mission is. Also, when rendezvousing, like when trying to rendezvous with the International Space Station, they also have an instantaneous launch window. Typically, when there's really strict orbit parameters like that, you only have an instantaneous launch window. But a lot of times what we see is missions that go out to geostationary transfer orbit. And those are missions that are a lot further away. They aren't necessarily rendezvousing, but they are trying to be lined up with their inclination. That's kind of a whole other thing. So normally they have a launch window of 2 to 4 hours. So today is not that. It is an instantaneous launch window. So thank you, Overland 4R. He says, keep doing what you're doing. Love your stuff. Thank you. That means a lot. Again, it's people like you guys that keep me going. So thank you very much. Ooh, that's right, Loopy. You're talking. I don't know what we're talking about over here in the Discord channel, but it looks like we're talking about the fact that the Atlas V has a 99% success rate. Technically, although it had a partial failure on ascent. Wow, thank you. Well, thank you very much, Zane Zied. I really appreciate your tip. That means a lot. I have no idea what currency that is, but that's awesome. I like that symbol. And hi and welcome. Thank you very, very much. So technically, we were talking about the Atlas V, and then the Atlas V is ULA, United Launch Alliance, which is Boeing and Lockheed Martin, their joint rocket company. They're kind of the old school. They've been around forever. They're the old workhorse. They work. The Atlas V has technically mission success, 100% success. They did have, actually, the only Atlas V I've ever seen in person was OA6, and it technically had a failure, so maybe it was my fault. But the booster the first stage booster ended up having, cutting off 5 seconds early. I think it was some valve issue, but that's a lot. And luckily, the upper stage of the Atlas V is such a beast. It's still, the Centaur upper stage is still the best upper stage in existence currently. And it was able to compensate for that 4 seconds off. So, yeah, pretty amazing, honestly. SpaceX, their upper stage, the Merlin 1D vacuum engine, it's basically the same engine. Obviously the Falcon 9 is famous for having 9, or in this case 27 on the Falcon Heavy, has 9 Merlin engines. The upper stage is only 1 Merlin engine. It's the same combustion chamber basically, with a much, much, much bigger nozzle. The nozzle ends up being basically your full 3.5 meter diameter. It fills almost the whole inside of that. That's how big the nozzle is compared to the little teeny guys down there. And the reason we're talking about that is it's not actually it's a very powerful upper stage. It's actually overpowered, but it's not very efficient compared to if they were to ever do a Centaur upper stage on a Falcon 9, which the Centaur upper stage would cost more than a Falcon 9, I think. So pretty pointless, but it is a very capable upper stage. Very, very good. Let's see. Yes. And Greg Gillum says he's never heard of an instantaneous launch window before. And he didn't realize it's also used for ISS. It's only used for ISS with SpaceX. Believe it or not, the Atlas V has enough wiggle room, even though it has technically less delta V. I don't know why it can do this, but it can do a dog-leg maneuver with, I think, with its upper stage. Again, that upper stage I think is so powerful. They have like a 40-minute launch window on the Atlas V when doing ISS. Can someone correct me on that? I'm not entirely positive how that works, but they do have a 40-minute launch window with an Atlas V, and they don't with SpaceX. And maybe SpaceX, I think technically, here we go. I think technically, I'm remembering now, technically SpaceX has a launch window, but due to their fueling procedures with this super chilled propellants, they set it as they only have a second, because if they miss that, the fuel warms up, they end up not being able to launch. So, yeah. Thank you, Sky Renard. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm happy that I'm helping inspire people to get excited about this stuff, because this is all it is for me, guys. I got really excited starting the first time. Well, I knew what SpaceX was maybe 5 years ago. I had heard of them, and more because I knew who Elon Musk was. I knew what Tesla was, but I didn't care about SpaceX. I thought they were a teeny little rocket company. The first launch I ever saw, though, was CRS-3, which is boop. That was in April of 2014, so coming up on 4 years ago. And I went to the launch disappointed, being like, I'm only going to see a SpaceX rocket launch. Boo. But the cool thing is it had landing legs on it. It was the first rocket with landing legs. And literally, something clicked in my head where I'm just like, wait, what? And here's the truth of the matter. I just spent the first time in my adult life going through the Kennedy Space Center. And the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, guys, is still my favorite space museum. Yes, I'll even say I like it better than the Smithsonian's Air and Space Museums. I just like it. It's great. It's a really great complex. I went through there for the first time in my adult life on that trip in 2014. And it felt like I was going through a graveyard of greatness. All this, really exciting stuff that we had done. And then you're like, oh, what do we do? Well, cool. This is great. We landed on the moon. Here's this. Look at Atlantis. Oh, cool. What's next? And they're like, we kind of have this canceled rocket, the Constellation. We're turning it into SLS now. You're like, oh, cool. When's that coming out? And it was really sad. I actually left there super depressed. Until literally that next day, went out to the launch pad to set up remote cameras, because I was invited to shoot as credentialed media with the press. And again, former professional photographer here. And as I set up the camera, and as people are talking, I'm still sitting there going, oh, it's just a Falcon 9. And then people are explaining, oh, this thing has landing legs. And literally I just go, landing legs? That's the most 21st century thing I've ever heard. Like, that's duh. Because it's a fundamental thing. Why do they just throw them away? Why do they throw them away? That got me excited. I just want to help spread that, and now it's very obvious. I mean, now I don't have to do that anymore, because they are doing it, they're landing these rockets themselves. They're inspiring people on their own. I'm just here to help people understand what's going on. So thank you. John Chappell, thank you very much. I appreciate that tip. And Matthew Taylor, will the Falcon 9 do a barrel roll? Oh, Matthew Taylor. Actually, yeah, sort of. It does kind of a cartwheel. The booster stage does, as soon as the upper stage and the poop. We're going to pretend this is the Falcon 9, because I don't have a little Falcon 9, and it's very overexposed, so I apologize about that. But when the Falcon 9, the main booster of the Falcon 9 and the upper stage separate, the booster actually does a flip maneuver, so it kind of does half a barrel roll. Unless we're considering barrel rolls to be rolling on its axis, which it could do. It won't, but it could. It could easily handle that. Yeah. I like that question. Thank you for the question. Hey, Paul Jr., you say in our Discord channel, hello, Paul's wife. Welcome to your first SpaceX live stream, right? That's awesome. Well, great. I hope that you learned something. I hope we can help get you excited. Yeah, I know that Paul's a big space fan, so yeah. Hello. Oh, SpaceX live stream is starting. SpaceX live stream is starting. Everybody likes the SpaceX live stream, and it's starting. We're going to make sure this is kind of quiet. Let me know, guys, how the audio levels are. I always have to kind of wing it. I don't have presets for this stuff. All right, let me know if you guys are happy with the levels. And once they start talking, remember guys, when they start talking, I listen. So I'm going to stop talking. I don't want to talk over them. I want to hear what they're saying too. And then if they say anything new, we'll regurgitate it and help digest what they're saying. Which can always be tricky on the spot, because what if I don't know? Then I'll tell you I don't know, and we'll try to figure it out for next time. So, hey, thank you very much, ZS Solomon. Thank you. Dancing around like a little kid. I agree. SpaceX still, and not just SpaceX, just space gets me excited. Obviously, it's easy to be excited about SpaceX when they're launching this often, and when they're doing really exciting things like landing boosters. And the main thing is they're doing stuff so often, it's hard to not get excited about them. So people are like, you're such a SpaceX fanboy. I'm a fan of anyone launching. That's like saying, you know, if someone else was launching this frequently, I would love it, but no one else is launching anywhere near this frequently. So, Tech Turtle, oh, awesome! Thank you for the tip, and thanks for your videos. You and your daughter, your 7-year-old daughter, watched your Falcon Heavy on our tablet with the SpaceX stream on TV. Let's get excited about space. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. And hello to your daughter. And Robin, thank you so much. You say, I rock, I love SpaceX, and I love to watch my stream. Well, thank you very much. That genuinely means a lot. Thank you. All right. Oh, good. Hey, we have another point to bring up. Gondola in our Discord channel. Thank you for reminding me. Sunrise is in 30 minutes. This launch is going to start in 15 minutes. That means the rocket will go up about 15 minutes before sunrise. We might get another shot to see that the phenomena. Someone help. Well, thank you for your donation, Neb. That's an interesting. Wait. That's an interesting way to get my attention. Space is that space is a waste of money, but SLS is better than BFR. I'm still trying to digest this comment. Thank you. Oh, that's hilarious. Not UFO phenomenon, guys. Come on, Twilight effect, Twilight phenomenon. Yes, Twilight phenomenon. And that's where the rocket will go up. And due to the fact that the rocket gets high enough that it can make direct line of sight with the sun, it will illuminate the plume of exhaust. It won't be as beautiful as it was at sunset. At sunset, if you're standing in California, you're looking west, and the sun is illuminating the backside of the exhaust. So that's why that the zoom emission was so bright, so illuminated. Today, if it happens again, if the conditions are right, if it's a clear day in California, they'll probably see it again, but it won't be backlit illuminated, it'll be frontlit illuminated, so it won't be as bright. But there's a chance that we'll have everyone freaking out again about a UFO in California, in which case I'll probably just make the exact same video. I'll show that same thing from last time that we saw. I'll explain the puffs that people are probably going to see from fairing 2.0 recovery. Yep. Yeah, Martin says your country reported the phenomenon as UFO footage in your national television. That is, and then they say so sad. That is honestly really sad. Oh, it was Iridium. Wait, was it Iridium? Yeah, it was Iridium, not Zuma. Thank you, Alley Cat. Yeah, so hopefully this will probably happen again. We just have to be ready for it. Oh, they are not trying to retrieve the rocket. That's correct, Lucas GR. This is a we'll talk about this because we talked about it yesterday. So I'm trying to remember what all we mentioned yesterday and what all we need to talk about today. So this is a refurbished, reused booster, but it's not landing. The reason for this is these Block 3 boosters. So every rocket we've seen land is currently a Block 3 iteration, which is the first iteration that they put, second iteration they put landing legs on, actually. Block 2 had landing legs. The Block 3 is when they started using chilled propellants. And although they almost landed one Block 3 booster, the Jason 3, its landing legs didn't quite work. One landing leg like folded back in, and even though it had a beautiful soft touchdown, that would have been the only Block 2 that would have landed. Block 3 is what we've seen land every time. Ooh, SpaceX is starting. That being said, they have too many of them. They need a lot of refurbishment, and they basically did Block 3 to learn how to make this Block 5 that's coming up fully and rapidly reusable. So, yeah. Hey, thank you very much, Blue Cloudy Eagle. Big fan of loving music, especially the spaceships for Earth track. Thank you. Which planet is my favorite? Earth. Earth is my favorite planet. I don't want to live anywhere else. Next favorite would... I'd want to go to the moon. I know that's not a planet, but it's a planetary body.
On your screen is a live view of the Falcon 9 rocket as it prepares to launch the Instantaneous PAZ satellite into a sun-synchronous polar orbit. Good morning from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. It is February 22nd, just after 6 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. I'm Tom Perderio, and I'm a firmware engineer in the avionics department at SpaceX. Right now, it is a beautiful, clear morning at Vandenberg Air Force Base, where the Falcon 9 rocket is about to launch from Space Launch Complex 4, which is our West Coast launch site. Throughout this webcast, I'll be bringing you live coverage of the launch today from liftoff all the way to the deployment of the PAZ satellite. In addition to this primary payload, 2 SpaceX test satellites will be flying as a secondary payload on today's mission. You may get a glimpse of those when the PAZ satellite deploys, but unfortunately we will lose ground station coverage just after that. So our webcast coverage today will conclude after the deployment of PAZ.
Hi there, Matthias. Thank you. Hello, Hungry. Hope you're doing awesome. So it sounds like the webcast will conclude after the deployment of PAZ. I love how you can see the stripes. Apparently they kind of scrub it clean to do ultrasonic scans.
Today's launch is from Space Launch Complex 4 at Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is SpaceX's West Coast launch site. On the pad right now, you can see the 2-stage Falcon 9 vehicle standing 70 meters tall, which is taller than a 20-story building. The first stage, which makes up the bottom 2/3 of the rocket, provides the initial force to get out of the majority of the Earth's atmosphere. This will in fact be the second flight of this first stage, the first having been on the Microsat mission in August of last year. Through that that condensation smoke, you may even be able to see markings from that booster's first flight. However, SpaceX is not planning on recovering this first stage again today. We may hear call-outs in the launch nets as the stage descends through the atmosphere, but no burns will be performed and we won't be following its progress on the webcast. This is an earlier iteration of Falcon 9 that's already been used once, and at this point SpaceX is making room for our next iteration of Falcon 9 rockets, which will be qualified to be rapidly reused many times. On top of that first stage, the second stage makes up the rest of the rocket on the pad. This second stage takes the satellite from the edge of space and accelerates to orbital speeds of just over 7.5 kilometers per second, which is 10 times faster than a speeding bullet. At the very top of Falcon 9 is a 17-foot diameter payload fairing, within which is the PAZ spacecraft and the 2 SpaceX test satellites. Next to the rocket, you can see a white structure to the right. That is the transporter erector, or strongback. Unlike our East Coast launch pads, this transporter erector will recline to 77.5 degrees several minutes before liftoff, unlike our East Coast launch pads where it will, those ones recline immediately as the rocket leaves the pad.
We can talk about that if you guys want. The real reason is when it leans back quickly, gets away from the blast of the rocket, all those umbilicals and things get away from the blast of the rocket. So say it's like this, look how close the blast of the rocket is. But instead on the East Coast in Florida, it falls away at T-0. So out here you're gonna see it retract like this at around T-3 minutes, and then the rocket will go, and it doesn't move after that. The transporter
at T-7 minutes and 45 seconds, let's check out exactly how the rocket's doing right now. This Falcon 9 started loading propellants at T-70 minutes. Fuel is currently loaded on the second stage and complete except for topping off on that first stage. Liquid oxygen or LOX loading is in progress on both stages and will continue all the way down to T-3 minutes. The next major activity is going to be engine chill. Right now, the liquid oxygen that we load onto the rocket is extremely cold, and those 9 Merlin engines on stage 1 are at ambient air temperature at Vandenberg Air Force Base. So if we release that LOX into the engines right now, it would immediately warm up and boil, causing bubbles and other unwanted issues. So in a few minutes, we're going to be releasing just a small amount of liquid oxygen into the engines to bring them down to operating temperature. This is the process you'll hear on the nets called engine chill. Right now, the range has given us a green light for launch. Right now, the satellite is looking good as well. Everything's ready for a launch at exactly 6:17 a.m. The weather is unbelievably clear. This is a rare day at Vandenberg Air Force Base. Sometimes the marine layer fog is so thick you can't even see the rocket. So we have some beautiful shots. Might even be able to see the rocket from Los Angeles today. We were tracking upper level winds. Right now, the upper level winds are about 95% of our launch levels. So we're still good to go, though we are monitoring them as we get down to launch. But ground level winds and cloud rules are all looking great. So it looks like we're on track for a 6:17 a.m. launch in just about T-minus 6 minutes.
Yeah, they find Elon. Check out Elon's Instagram. He shows a picture of Mr. Stevens, the fairing recovery boat. So they're going to be attempting to recover the fairings by having a giant net that's like 100 feet or like 30 meters wide, square or something. I don't remember the exact amount. It's big. And this boat's fairly quick. And then the fairings split in half. They have little thrusters on board. They re-enter the atmosphere. And again, they're really big and light. They don't have a lot of mass behind them. They're as light as can be. So that means they can re-enter without totally overheating. And they have such a big surface area, they can re-enter without any issues. The rocket, on the other hand, is heavy, dense, and it's very skinny. So it comes through like an arrow as opposed to coming through like a feather. So these just come in, they hit the atmosphere slows them down, they guide themselves using these little thrusters, and then once they get into the atmosphere, they deploy a parafoil parachute. And then, especially these 2.0 ones, hopefully it works out better. They're hoping to be able to steer it, the fairings, and have it line up with the boat, and then voila, you just save $6 million. It's a crazy
Let's talk a
harebrained
little bit about
scheme.
today's payload. It is called PAZ, which is the Spanish word for peace, and it is a radar satellite of Spain's National Earth Observation Satellite Program. The PAZ mission is a dual-use mission funded by the Spanish Ministry of Defense and managed by Isdesat, a private Spanish communications company. PAZ carries an X-band radar imaging payload to collect views of the Earth for government and commercial customers, along with ship tracking and weather sensors. X-band radar allows the satellite to image the Earth day and night, regardless of weather conditions on the surface. This satellite will be launched into a sun-synchronous polar orbit, meaning that its orbit stays in the same plane with respect to the Sun as the Earth rotates and revolves around its own orbit. This allows the PAZ satellite to image any given point on the planet under the exact same lighting conditions, which is extremely useful for imaging applications. Once operational, PAZ will be capable of generating about 100 images a day, covering an area of more than 300,000 kilometers square. And as we mentioned earlier, there are 2 SpaceX test satellites flying as secondary payloads on this mission. These are meant to gather data in advance of deploying and operating a satellite constellation that will provide internet service. However, even if these satellites work as planned, we still have considerable technical work ahead of us to design and deploy a low Earth orbit satellite constellation. This system, if successful, would provide people in low to moderate population densities around the world with affordable, high-speed internet access, including many that have never had internet access before. You may catch a glimpse of these demo sats when we deploy the PAZ satellite, but our coverage and focus today will be on our primary payload, which is the PAZ satellite.
Timu, thank you very much. Where will the first stage will crash just into the ocean? So it'll be pretty much straight west of LA, of Los Angeles, or around kind of LA area, about 100 miles west. It'll just follow its ballistic trajectory. They will probably be doing an aggressive landing burn and landing maneuvers. They still are trying to collect.
We are just after T-minus 3 minutes away from liftoff, so let's check in one last time with the status of this rocket. Fuel is fully loaded on both stages, and liquid oxygen is being topped off as we speak. Right now, the rocket is pressurizing itself with helium gas, sort of like a soda can derives some of its strength from the pressure inside. The Falcon 9 is pressurized with gaseous helium, and we press that up just before releasing it from the strongback. You just saw those cradle arms from the strongback released, and right now the transport erector strongback is reclined to its launch position at 77.5 degrees. Right now, the range is still giving us a green light for launch. The weather is again looking fantastic. Those upper level winds are still playing nice at 95% launch tolerances. Remember, this is an instantaneous launch window, so if for any reason we decide not to go today, our backup window will be tomorrow at 6:17 a.m. Pacific. Right now, the rocket's getting ready to launch, so let's listen into those countdown nets as we approach just under T-minus 2 minutes.
First up, thank you, Bacon Lube. I appreciate the tip. Funny name. Someone asked, why is it night in Florida? This is in Vandenberg, California. This is their West Coast launch site. So any launch heading out into polar orbit, where it goes north and south instead of east to west, launches from Vandenberg Air Force Base. Oh, awesome. Jerry Cobra's heading outside to sea.
Vehicles in self-flying.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And people often ask what all this is. This is condensation in the air.
Gas loads are closed down.
It's not actually smoke. It's the really, really, really cold gaseous oxygen. So oxygen goes from, they pump it in there as a liquid, and if it warms up, as it warms up from ambient temperature, it's like minus 250 degrees Celsius. Ready. Something around there, minus 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Really, really, really cold. As it warms up from the ambient air, it turns it back into a gas which expands 1,000 times, and then it needs to shoot out into the air. But it's still really cold, like minus 250 degrees, and so it condenses the air molecules in the air, forming this condensation we see on the rocket. So think about this as like a giant flying freezer. You know, it's, if you went up and touched it right now, your hand would probably get stuck to it.
LD, go for launch.
Really cold. So that's why you're seeing it breathe this really cold condensation. It's not smoke, it's condensation.
T-minus 30.
Someone asked if we'll get live video of Mr. Steven, the fairing recovery boat. I'm not sure. I kind of doubt it. Okay, let's listen in here, guys.
15.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
Yeah, baby.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
flash,
4, 3,
yep,
2,
there it goes. They lit.
1.
Yes.
Liftoff.
Vehicle pitching downrange. Stable propulsion nominal.
We need a better shot than this. Again, these Vandenberg guys don't get nearly as much practice as the East Coast guys with the tracking camera. So these tend to be a little bit shakier than the East Coast. They just don't have the same practice. The East Coast guys are amazing. They're incredible. It's looking good so far.
For those of you just joining us, you are watching the Falcon 9 as it descends through the atmosphere, carrying the PAZ satellite to a polar sun-synchronous orbit. Right now, the rocket is approaching what we call max Q. This is the point at which the aerodynamic forces in the rocket are at the greatest.
Yes.
Falcon 9 actually throttles itself down as it passes through max Q, and then throttles back up once we're through it.
I'll bet.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
So remember, it's 14, 15, 16 kilometers up already. So even though the sun has not risen in LA, say, it's going to get high enough that it will probably be getting hit by the sun. That's just how that works. So now you'll start to see probably its exhaust plume actually getting illuminated by the sun.
We just passed through our maximum aerodynamic pressure, max Q. The Falcon 9 rocket is now throttling back up to full speed as it ascends through the atmosphere.
Still ascending, but it's pitching over quite a bit.
As that first stage ascends higher and higher through the atmosphere, the ambient air pressure starts going further and further down, so you can see those exhaust gases getting bigger and bigger on your camera screen right now.
It is.
In the Twilight effect. About 20 seconds, we're going to be passing through what we call MECO, which is main engine cutoff. That's when that first stage is going to complete its burn. Shortly after that, we'll have stage separation, and then second engine start, SES-1. Let's watch that happen now.
So this is what people are going to think is a UFO. Again, we're going to see this exhaust plume get really big. There's stage separation, so first stage is falling away. Second stage igniting. There goes, you'll see the cork liner disappear around the outside of the nozzle.
You just saw it on your screen. That was a good MECO, main engine cutoff, a good separation of that first stage, and then what appears to be a successful second engine start 1. Stand by for fairing deploy.
This is important because this is fairing 2.0. Looks good.
And you just saw it on your screen. That was a successful fairing deploy. You can see the fairing falling down below the second stage on your screen right now.
That's important. Anytime you make a change, like
SpaceX
new
will
fairing,
be attempting to recover this fairing today.
I get a little scared because changes mean you might have something pop up that you didn't see. So the fact that it worked, big sigh of relief. Good job. Good job, SpaceX.
On your screen right now, you can see the Merlin Vacuum D engine nozzle. This is a radiatively cooled engine nozzle, meaning that it vents the heat from those hot exhaust gases by radiating that energy. You can see it glowing red hot, burning that energy away. For those of you down in Southern California, you might get a good glimpse of those exhaust gases as the second stage accelerates. Looked like a nice clear morning today in Los Angeles.
Twilight phenomenon.
As the second stage ascends higher and higher into orbit, let's talk a little bit about exactly what orbit we're going to today. This is a low Earth orbit polar sun-synchronous orbit. Low Earth orbit refers to the height of the orbit above the Earth, so things such as the International Space Station are also in low Earth orbit, but they orbit more along the equator, which is what's called a low inclination orbit. A polar orbit circles vertically about the Earth with respect to its poles, so that it passes over the north and the south poles. This is the orbit we're going to today. Certain types of polar orbits, like this one, a sun-synchronous orbit, keeps the orbit's plane directly in line with the sun. This allows any satellite that's in a sun-synchronous orbit to see all points of the Earth from exactly the same lighting conditions as illuminated by the sun. This is extremely useful for imaging applications, which would be the PAZ spacecraft's primary intended purpose. Low Earth orbits only require a single burn, so we won't be having a coast phase or a second engine start 2, like we would normally have for geosynchronous Earth orbit launches.
So this will be a short mission. The live stream will only be like 5 minutes longer. And I saw Marcus House in the house. Hello. I can't wait to see all the footage from the ground. I bet people are freaking out right now. Let's go to Twitter. I can't wait. Let's see if I'm gonna just look.
For those of you just joining us, we did have a successful liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket at exactly 6:17 a.m. Pacific time from Space Launch Complex 4 in Vandenberg Air Force Base. Shortly after that, the first stage completed its job and separated from that second stage. We're currently watching the second stage as it continues its first burn, its only burn today, and accelerating that PAZ spacecraft to a low Earth orbit. The next major event is going to be at about T plus 8 minutes and 58 seconds. That's when that second engine cutoff is going to happen, also known as SECO.
So yeah, again, to reiterate,
right now you can see the curvature of the Earth just behind that Merlin Vacuum D engine nozzle.
It's really pretty. So they are not landing the first stage today. Someone asked what it will take. Will they ever land a second stage? No, not on this. Not on the Falcon 9 variant. They need to do a full redesign like the BFR. The BFR
all telemetry is still looking nominal from that second stage, getting good signal.
The BFR is designed to be fully recoverable. It's a totally different design scheme. There's a lot more margin. It's a lot higher performing vehicle. It has room to be able to do a second stage recovery. There just isn't margin or room to do a second stage recovery. I have a video called "Why Doesn't SpaceX Recover the Second Stage?" It's a little outdated. I probably need to update it. I have a lot of videos I need to update. I have a lot of videos to do, period. Check that out, though. I'll kind of give you a good idea.
As we burn fuel in that second stage, the second stage actually gets lighter and lighter, but the engine thrust remains the same. So in order to keep a constant acceleration on the second stage and its payload, we actually throttle that Merlin vacuum engine down towards the end. We're getting close towards the end of the burn right now, so that throttle down is beginning.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you very much. And also to Lucas, thank you so much. Passion is exceptional. Thank you for sharing. Best regards, Lucas. Thank you. And Osley, also. Almost missed it. Keep up the good job. Thank you. I'm trying. I'm having fun.
Coming up
That's what
next in
matters.
about 40 seconds is going to be SECO, second engine cutoff. That second stage Merlin vacuum engine is going to shut off, having completed its primary burn. And then a minute after that, or 2 minutes after that, we're going to have payload separation. So stand by for SECO in about 20 or 30 seconds from now.
People on Twitter are starting to pop up to the rocket. That is so awesome.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Oh, that's awesome, Jeff Core. Thanks for saying hi, and thank you for the tip. He's in Orange County, California,
Yes, it's safe.
and you can see the exhaust plume from here. That's awesome. That's really cool. Thanks for saying hi. There's SECO.
Yeah,
I'll
SECO 1.
see.
And you just saw it on your screen, that was a second engine cutoff right there. The second stage has now completed its burn, and that's Merlin vacuum engine
GNC
is off.
confirmed good orbit insertion.
We just got confirmation of a good orbit.
Good.
That means that we have reached the intended low Earth orbit point. Right now, the primary payload, that PAZ spacecraft, is still attached to the top of the second stage by way of a payload adapter fitting. It has some locks and some springs. In about 1 minute and 30 seconds from now, those locks are going to release, and the springs will give the PAZ satellite a gentle push away from the top of the second stage so that it can begin its own journey into low Earth orbit.
So you're just seeing liquid oxygen vent out there. I think
We are now
keeping
1 minute
tank
away
pressure.
from that payload deploy. Like we were saying earlier, we're going to be having or hopefully we'll have a view from the top of the second stage looking at the PAZ satellite as it deploys. You may see on the sides of the spacecraft, you're going to see 2 extra things. Those will be the SpaceX demo satellites. We'd love to give you footage of those deploying too, but unfortunately, the second stage will be passing out of ground station coverage before those satellites deploy. So we're just going to be covering that primary payload PAZ satellite deployment.
Which is sad because I really want to learn more about the Starlink, their internet constellation. Hopefully hear more about it. Hopefully hear if it's successful or not. I assume it will be.
Stand by for deployment in about 10 to 15 seconds.
There's a spring loaded on that payload adapter, and they just basically let go of the clamps, and it gently pushes the payload away. So that's what we're doing. We're looking up now. So we're looking kind of like right here from the base of the upper part of the upper stage. The fairing's off. We're looking up at the satellite, and it's going to push it away. There it goes.
And there you can see it. That looks like a successful separation of the payload of the PAZ satellite. You can see those SpaceX demo satellites to the left and right of the payload adapter fitting. But the primary payload is right now gliding away from that second stage. Soon it will unfurl its own solar panels and start communicating with the ground teams.
Awesome.
So right now, this is going to bring an end to our webcast coverage. For those of you who just joined us, we had a successful launch from Space Launch Complex 4, successful stage separation and a good second engine burn, and then finally, just now, a good separation of that PAZ satellite. I'd like to thank the customer PAZ and Isdasat for allowing us to launch their payload to low Earth orbit today. I'd like to thank the Air Force and the Range and the FAA for their support of today's launch, and of course you, the viewers, for waking up bright and early on this Thursday morning to watch the Falcon 9 launch. Unfortunately, we can't bring you coverage of those SpaceX demo satellites. We don't have ground station coverage to show you, but you can follow us on social media for updates on the demo sats and their mission. If you'd like to come work for us, please check out spacex.com/careers. Yet again, thanks for letting us share this Falcon 9 launch with you, and have a great rest of your day.
We're still sticking around, though, guys. They end. We're going to answer questions. That's what we're here for. So first and foremost, thank you to FRBE0101. Had a dream about 2 BFS on their way to Mars, link up with cables and spin about one each other for artificial gravity. Think that could happen? It absolutely could. I mean, that's Robert Zubrin has that idea in his Mars, direct Mars architecture, or I forget what it's called. But Robert Zubrin has this brilliant plan to get to Mars, and SpaceX is kind of the closest thing to doing that. but he wants to link up two spacecraft or a spacecraft to a spent stage. So say the upper stage, you just link up to that and you spin, you just tether them together and you can produce artificial gravity. The big thing with artificial gravity, say it's small, say if my room is spinning, you'd get really, really, really sick actually because your feet are spinning at a different speed than your brain, and you can sense that, and your body senses that, and you get really sick because it feels like you're constantly falling over. So in order to negate those effects, you have to get really big, and obviously really big normally requires a lot of mass, but a cable is a great solution. So I would love to see that on something like the BFS. That would be great. I don't think we're going to. I don't see any plans to do that, and believe it or not, the weightlessness isn't the biggest issue with, especially with deep space travel. It's really the radiation. That's the scariest, the thing that causes the biggest bodily harm. The bone density loss can be fought with working out. So yeah, although it would be cool and I would love to see that happen, I don't think we're going to see that happen anytime too soon. So JH, thank you very much for your tip, and you're welcome for the great channel. I am glad you appreciate the effort. Timu, are thrusters the most expensive part of the first phase? Those could be separated from the fuel tank and float, then tow them back to ground. Timu, you are, well, there's two things here. First off, that's exactly what ULA, United Launch Alliance, plans to do with their upcoming Vulcan rocket. They call it the SMART system, where the engines will detach from the tank of the first stage. They then deploy this big airfoil, and this won't happen for like 5 years. They detach a giant inflatable heat shield. Then those engines re-enter using that giant inflatable heat shield, and then a parachute deploys. Before those touch the salt water that would destroy them, a helicopter will come up and swoop and grab them out of the air. To me, that sounds a lot worse than just landing the rocket. Clearly, SpaceX can land the rocket. That fuselage, that tank, is extremely valuable. They have only had one fail in the past 20 landings, 20 plus landing attempts in a row, by the way. I think they're at 20 successful, or maybe even 21. I need to find those numbers now. I'm losing track. They're landing them so frequently. The only thing that hasn't landed successfully was the center core of the Falcon Heavy. Other than that, they have the landing thing down. They don't need to break it up and make it easier. They don't need to do parachutes. They don't need to do detachable anything. They've got it down. They know how to do it. They're recovering the most amount of rocket, which then means the most amount of cost savings for them and the customer. So I think that's, in my opinion, that's a way better way to do it. Clearly they have it down. Yeah. Wow, guys, thank you. Hold on. And back to Bic Ramjeet. Thank you very much. Am I really excited about fairing recovery? I am, because that's, again, 10% more of the rocket. If they get fairing recovery down, even on the Falcon 9, they'll be recovering something more like 75% of the rocket in terms of cost, or around there. Or probably more like, let me think about this, because the fairing's about 10%. We think the first stage is around half. So I guess 60% of the cost of the vehicle, 75% of the kind of total, when you look at it, height, that doesn't really do that much for you. But so we'd be coming up on recovering a lot more of the rocket. And if they can start reusing these fairing 2.0, that's just a great sign of things to come. The more rocket you can bring back and reuse, the better. These things are expensive. $6 million? Elon once said, I told my engineers, imagine a pallet with $6 million of cash falling from the sky. It's your job to catch it. And that's been their motivation. So now they're trying crazy Wile E. Coyote style boats with giant nets. It's what you guys sketch up as like, why don't they do this? That's what they're doing. SpaceX does it. They say, we're going to try. Apparently there were a lot of people just tuning into that stream. That payload deployed along rocket's trajectory. Won't the two other deploy to the sides and possibly a wonky orbit? So yes, they do deploy to the sides, but that amount of delta V is like very negligible, and they have a little bit of thrusters. So then they orient themselves and do what they need to do, and they space themselves out against each other. So yes, technically, but the amount of wonkiness is like a millimeter compared to a mile, or a kilometer. That'd be way better. A millimeter compared to a kilometer. It's just very, very, very little amount of delta V is put into that, so they can easily just put their thrusters on and stop that motion, and they're still within their orbital inclination. So let's see. I just saw outside from Northern California. Very cool. That is awesome, Gabe. And thank you. That is really cool. I really wish I could see some of these in person more often. It's just kind of hard for me. Redstone Wizard, thanks for your work. Do I know about the fairing? I don't know anything about the fairing. Thank you, Redstone. I'm looking, waiting to see if Elon says anything. Made it back from space and fairing parafoil just deployed. Now trying to catch it. So he's live tweeting right now their fairing attempts. This is awesome. That is so cool. Please do a music mod for KSP. You're welcome, FRBE. And thank you again. I don't know what a music mod would. I don't even know what that is. Those are new words to me. I would potentially look into it. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, sure. Someone tell me what to do with that. Someone tell me what I'm doing. What am I doing? Let's see. I'm going to keep refreshing Elon's Twitter just in case he talks about that. I hope they actually, that would be so cool. If they get that on their first try with fairing 2.0, that'd be amazing. They've been trying for over a year though, just so you know, to recover the fairings. So yeah. Does SpaceX sell mission patches? Yep. You can go to SpaceX.com. You can find their web store. Let's see. Has anyone else updates on any UFO sightings, as in people being able to see the exhaust plume illuminated by the sun? So Josh Kaufman, doesn't launching multiple satellites add risk to the mission? Does SpaceX give a discount? So Josh, it's very common to have multiple satellites deployed in a single launch. It's called ride sharing, and if you're going in the same orbital parameters, if you need to go to the same place in space, and the Falcon 9, by the way, someone said they thought it was too heavy to land the first stage. That's not true. I don't think. I actually, to be honest, I couldn't find the weight of everything, but I don't think it was too heavy. They just are expending those Block 3 boosters now. But if you're already launching, that's crazy expensive, and lots of times the vehicle's plenty capable of more than that. So it's so much better. It's so much better to share it, and there's really little risk because they all have their own payload separators, and they end up getting pretty far away from each other. That's why they stagger those deployments by a good amount. And spacecraft can control themselves. They have their own station keeping, which means they have their own little propellant. They can kind of maneuver and get out of the way from each other and get into their correct final destinations, their final orbit. So yeah, Timu. Falcon 9 landing legs could have magnets on them. I don't know why they would need magnets. Of course, they could have magnets, and thank you for the tip. I don't know why they would need magnets. They don't need magnets. They're doing great as is. I don't think, unless you're talking about when they land on the deck of the drone ship, sometimes it skirts around a little bit. SpaceX actually thought of that. What they're doing is they have the thing called an octograbber. It's a little robot that's parked inside a garage on the drone ship. The last one caught on fire really bad. And the garage door opens, the little robot comes out, it gets steered underneath the rocket, and then it grabs onto the octaweb. It grabs onto basically the launch clamps, where the launch clamps grab onto, and then it just is heavy. It's a heavy thing. It lowers the center of gravity, lowers the center of mass on the rocket, and keeps it from tipping over. There are no magnets on that. It doesn't need it. It just doesn't need it. Because believe it or not, it's really, really, really lightweight. The top of the rocket is all empty. It's not much different than having a smokestack. No, because those are heavy. It's not much different than holding a broom from the broom angle and having the lightweight thing on top. You can easily just, it doesn't the broom's not, just because it's tall and skinny doesn't mean it's like really heavy at the top. It's heavy at the bottom, so you have no problem wiggling it around. Joshua Lewis, thank you for your tip. Thank you very much. Oh, awesome. The wall cladding wants to know more about my wedding ring that has space titanium from Space Shuttle Discovery on it. So I bought a hunk. I did mention this last night in our live stream. You guys need to watch and start tuning in if you can to Today-ish in Spaceflight History, where I hang out with my friend Jacob, and he doesn't know anything about space. I recreate a historical spaceflight event in Kerbal Space Program. He asks stupid questions. It's great. I love it. We had a lot of fun last night. So tune in or rewatch last night so you get a taste of what it's like. We'll be trying to do that every Wednesday whenever available. So so last night I did mention that I bought a hunk of titanium that had flown on Space Shuttle Discovery, and then I made copies of it, or not copies. I cut off little pieces of it to give away to Patreons. So we have to give this actual one away, which is awesome. This one we need to give away because we did just hit 400 patrons. So thank you guys so much. I need to figure out something cool for 500. I don't know what it is yet, and then we need to do something really big for 1,000. Really big. So this is probably already spoken for the first 400 people. But yeah, that's a piece of titanium from Space Shuttle Discovery that flew. Then for my wedding ring, I ended up getting a little strip of it snipped out, and then turned into the center part of my wedding band that you probably can't see. Yeah. Is Mr. Steven, and thank you, by the way, underscore. Why is orbital speed often around 7? Oh, that was someone else that asked that. But underscore asks, why is orbital speed often around 7,777 meters per second? That's a great question. It could just be straight up coincidence. But the why is depending on the closer you are actually to orbit, obviously you have to get out of the most of the atmosphere. Don't forget, the atmosphere doesn't just stop. It's not like space starts at this hard line and then all of a sudden you're in the vacuum of space. It's a gradient, so the higher you are, that's why if you're at sea level, the air's thick, 14.7 psi of air pressure around you. If you climb up a mountain or go up to Denver, Colorado, or you go to Addis Ababa, you're in Addis Ababa, you're like, I think you're 3,000 meters plus in altitude in Ethiopia. You can really feel it. That's the air just gradiently getting thinner and thinner and thinner. You keep going where airplanes at 10,000 meters or around there, or 35,000 feet in altitude. As they're flying, they're in even thinner air. So you can just picture how that keeps going, go up even higher. And say you're at the lowest point in orbit. So really, you can orbit. You can be in orbit and be in space at 62 miles or 100 kilometers. That's technically the arc, the Kármán line, which is the line of space, or that's what we've defined as the. It's just kind of it's the defining line of space. You could orbit right there, but the problem is there's still quite a bit of atmosphere. I mean, and by quite a bit, I mean like 0.1 or something %, a very tiny bit of atmosphere, but there is still atmosphere there. So you could orbit there. Your orbital speeds would actually be really fast. If you raise that orbit out to say 200 kilometers or 124 miles in altitude, you'd actually would have a slower orbit, which is really counterintuitive. And so the further out you get, the slower your speed actually is. But in order to get there in the first place, you have to speed up. It's really counterintuitive. But the further away you are, the slower your orbit speed is, your final orbit. But in order to get there, you do have to speed up. So say you want to get up to, say you were at 100 miles or 100 kilometers in altitude, and you want to get up to 200, you have to speed up at your lowest point. That will raise your highest point up to 200. And then you get up there, you're slowing down as you get to the top of that orbit. You're slowing down, and then you start falling back. Literally, you fall from 200 down to 100. It's just weird, there's no air to slow you down. Imagine a hill, rolling hills like this, or a roller coaster. When you get to the top, you're slowing down until you get to the top, then you get to the top and you speed up and fall back down. It's the same thing. So then if you want to get into a circular orbit, you have to speed up again at the top of the orbit. That'll raise your lowest point out to that 200 by 200, orbit. That'd be a nice orbit, but it would actually altogether be slower than if you're down at 100 kilometers, which is really, it wouldn't be much of a speed difference. Yeah, it'd be like very, very little. But yeah, it would be slower, which is really strange. So the 7,777 meters per second is just sort of, that's what speed it has to go to be in that orbit. And maybe that's just, it's around there. So sorry, that was a very long one. Is Mr. Steven 100% autonomous? Will there be video? I don't know if it's autonomous. I don't know. We don't know that much about it yet. And will there be video? I'm sure there is video. Will they release it and will they update us? I don't know. I hope. I really hope. So we'll see. And thank you for the tip. Chimee, Chmeeee. When is the first Block 5 launch? It's going to be... Oh, I don't remember what satellite. It's one that's really hard to pronounce. Sounds like Block 5 is heading out to McGregor for its first test fire soon. And yeah, it'll be awesome. Oh, Scott Manley. Scott Manley did a video, and also DYNM. I don't remember seeing you in our Discord channel yet. Welcome and hi. Thank you for being a patron. Here's a look from a video. Scott Manley was able to see the exhaust plume from his house in San Francisco, 230 miles away from the launch site. That's awesome. I'll take a look at that later. There we go. Code deflector. That's a good call. It's the difference of instantaneous velocity and rotational velocity. You're not actually moving slower when you're further out. You're just getting around the circle slower. But you are actually moving slower, relatively, I think. We'll see. Discuss amongst yourselves. So the first Block 5 should launch. Sorry, I go on tangents. Super ADD. Hopefully we will see Block 5 fly around April or May. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'll let you guys know as soon as I know. So, yeah, there we go. And thank you very much, Eric IRL. I appreciate the tip. Thank you. What's my morning routine? Asks Yusuf. My morning routine, I wake up, make a pot of coffee, I sit here, I say good morning to Discord channel normally, and I get to work. That's my normal day. And by work, most of the time, guys, a lot of the stuff that I do, it normally takes me about a week to do proper scripting for a video. Sometimes I get that down to about 3 days, 2-3 days. But I like to do a lot. First what I do is I sit and watch everything I can learn about that subject. If there isn't stuff on YouTube, that means I need to do my job better. But I try to learn as much as I can. I sit and read and try to soak up as much knowledge about what I'm talking about so I don't get it wrong. I still get it wrong sometimes. I'm not an expert. I'm not a historian. I'm not a aerospace engineer. So some of this stuff is just, you have to figure it out and do your best. So that's what my normal days are like. And then we have days where I shoot, then I edit for a couple days. Editing normally takes me about 2 days. I normally do what I call a dialogue cut, where I cut up all my dialogue first, put it on the timeline before there's music, before there's any of the graphic overlays. And then I go back through and edit it. And I let then my Patreon members see that edit. They give feedback, make sure I'm not saying anything wrong. Lots of times errors do pop up there. So you might often see in those dialogue cuts between that and the final edit, I might have to do like a voiceover. So that's pretty common if I have an error correction. So yeah. So I really appreciate all those people. They are, the Patreons and my Patreon members and the people that are also in our Reddit subreddit. They help me really figure out the exact things to hit on in each video. They help keep me focused. And yeah, that's my daily routine. So sounds like people are losing the stream for a second. I hope it comes back. 2-layer graphene could protect from space debris. Really? That's crazy. And graphene is tiny. And thank you for the tip, Timu. Graphene's still really hard to manufacture. It has not scaled up very well in manufacturability, and it's very cancerous. So I don't see graphene being used. It's kind of like our current age asbestos. I don't see it being used anytime too soon. Sloppy Top 23 says in our Discord, says they can't wait for Starlink. Maybe we won't have issues like things dropping, which is funny. I have a great internet connection here. I have gigabit internet here in Cedar Falls, Iowa. If you guys want fast internet and you don't want to pay a lot of money for it and you want all of your utilities. I didn't realize this is abnormal until I didn't live in Cedar Falls for a little bit, but all of our utilities, our water, heat, plumbing, our cable, internet is all one bill. And I realized that's amazing. We have a municipality for our utilities and they do the best job ever. We've had gigabit here for 4 or 5 years. We got it a year after Google started doing gigabit. It's crazy. We're getting 10. We actually have switches for 10 gig now in my town. What? So amazing. Thanks, CFU. I can kind of see their tower from here sometimes, but I can't right now. Anyway, so home of you and I, that's exactly right. Shocker fan 123. Dang. So that being said, I have a good pipe here. So I don't know what happens. Sometimes it might be OBS. It might be YouTube. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, why can't that be everywhere? That's the good question, Robertson644. Why can't gigabit be everywhere? Well, guess what? SpaceX is literally working on that today. Today was the first step of them hopefully providing gigabit internet service to everyone on Earth. Imagine being in an airplane, just sitting there gigabit for free or for your normal cost. Imagine being, in the middle of the ocean in Antarctica, Mount Everest, being able to just hang out, be like, hey, something's wrong. You know, no big deal. You don't need a satellite phone. You can just use, it would be a satellite phone, but you could just use whatever. Yeah. Was this the last Block 3 launch? No. We'll have a launch Sunday morning, I believe. Let me double check. Let's see here. Sunday morning, I think. Or is it Saturday or something? I don't remember when. Let's see here. It is in 2 days and 14 hours, which, I don't know, that's like the 24th. So is that Saturday? Do I have to stream on Saturday night? I can't wait though. Hipposat, we thought, so the next launch on Saturday. Wait, what is today? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 14 hours. Or is that like weird time Sunday morning? Oh, gosh. 11:35 p.m. So that'll be late Saturday night. Okay, I can do that. Looks like I'm staying up late. That's not that late. Come on, Tim. You're only going to be 33 in a minute. Not that old. Yeah, so Hipposat we thought was going to be expended. Again, just like this booster. But it sounds like they're going to try to recover it using ASDS. And this will be by far the hottest landing. This will be a full-blown 3-engine landing burn. Not even a 131. So it'll be probably using 3 engines the whole way down. This is the most... When you only have a tiny bit of fuel remaining, so say you have a heavy payload, you need to use a lot more fuel in that first stage to get that second stage to, to kind of offload some of the work to the second stage. This is not how normal rockets work, guys. So normally the first stage would do its full job, then the second stage would kind of do whatever it needs to do to get the payload into space. With SpaceX, they pretty much utilize the entire upper stage no matter what. That leaves as much propellant to do whatever they need to do to recover the first stage as possible. So the first stage, you want as much fuel remaining in the first stage as possible in order to recover. As long as the mission gets complete, that's all that matters, right? So if you have a light satellite, you can let go of that second stage early and let the second stage do a lot of the legwork. But if you have a heavy satellite, that second stage, that's a heavier thing the second stage is pushing against. The first stage has to burn longer to get more of that energy into that second stage. So the second stage can't do as much work in the grand scheme of things. So the first stage has to do more of it. The heavier that payload, the more that first stage has to do, the less fuel it has to land with. So Hipposat on Saturday night, or technically Sunday morning, I guess, if you're in the East Coast where it will be launching from, sounds like it has the least amount of margin they've ever had attempting a landing. So if they land this, it'll be very surprising. They might be punching a big old hole in the deck of their drone ship. But yeah, so they'll be doing a major 3-engine suicide burn, full-blown, full blast. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. February 25th UTC time. Yep, so 5:35 a.m. UTC. So those of you in Europe, you're going to have to wake up early. I know there's a lot of you out there. Hey, thank you very much, Osley. So those of you that don't know, my birthday, well, why would you know? You should know that. It'd be kind of creepy if you knew. My birthday's on Tuesday. And the only reason I'm talking about my birthday, who cares about a birthday? I'm in my 30s. You don't keep track of your birthdays. Yeah, you do. You still know. Anyway, the only reason I care about my birthday this year is last year, February 27th of last year, is when SpaceX announced the moon tourists on Falcon Heavy. That's hilarious that already got scrapped. Whoops. But anyway, that's the first time I stood up in front of a camera in my spacesuit and made a video about something. And that was my first kind of YouTube video. I mean, before I used to stream on Twitch and then put stuff up on YouTube. I treated YouTube as like a archive, basically, of Twitch streams, and it was terrible, really bad. And so what I decided to do is, like, I'm just going to report this cool mission that they're going to be launching people around the moon. It was like a 2.5-minute video. It's terrible. So bad. You should watch it, just so you know how quickly things can change in a year. My presentation is super awkward. The audio sounds like it's like you can't hear anything. It's terrible. It looks like it was color graded by a 3rd grader with only a tan crayon. Really bad. At the time when I made that video last February 27th, I didn't have 1,000 subscribers. I think I only had like 500 or 600. And I'm we're getting close, trying to hit 100,000 by Tuesday. It's a big ask. So if you guys can help out, we have 2,400 people still watching. All of you go tell 1 or 2 people to subscribe, please. That'd be my birthday present. That's my goal, was to hit 100,000 by my birthday. So we will see. Hey, Timu, we have the same birthday? That's crazy. There we go. So, yeah. Everyone's pulling it up. Do you guys want? I'll pull it up. We'll do an embarrassing. Let's watch Tim embarrass himself channel. Everyday astronaut, SpaceX moon. Oh god, this is gonna be so bad. I'm just gonna pull it up for a second just so you guys can laugh, if I can even find it. What? I think it'd be like the first one. It must not be. Oh, here we go. This is gonna be so bad. Hey, I'm gonna pull it up over here. I'm gonna unmute it. Oh gosh, like I said, color graded by a 3rd grader. Oh gosh, here we go. SpaceX announced today they plan to send 2 humans around the moon by the end of 2018. Yes! They will be using their Dragon 2 capsule, which will have its first crewless test flight to the International Space Station this year, followed by the first crewed flight by the second quarter of 2018. The 2 crew on board are actually 2 private citizens who have paid an undisclosed amount for the... I'm talking 6 octaves too high, I think, first off. 2 citizens, and I'm speaking... Might as well have had the mic in another room. 2 citizens over there from... I feel like this is the worst. This is the worst video I've ever made. Flight. That's a good thing. If this was the best video I made, I would be scared. So now you guys know. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Like I said, guys, that's how far we've come in less than just under a year. That was 1 year ago Tuesday. Whoa, Wolfie says that's why you subscribe. You subscribed from that video. Sorry, it sounds like I broke everyone's headphones. Oh, sorry guys. It sounds like I just broke absolutely everyone's. I don't know why. I guess it was that loud, or maybe it was me. I don't know. Yeah, that was the worst video in the world. Now you know where we came from. Humble beginnings. Oh, that's funny. It's really bad. Tim, why do we not get video feed without ground stations? Why not use a satellite link for the feed? That's a good question. I actually don't know why they don't use satellite uplinks. Probably because it's moving away. I don't have a good answer for that. I think once the internet constellation is up with SpaceX, I think we might be able to have even live feeds. Can you imagine a feed where they zoom in, they have video feeds of the rocket as it ascends? That would be amazing. So someone asked why don't they recycle the Block 3 boosters instead of just full blown expending them? I'm sure they did the math and they realized that honestly it's more expensive. Think about how expensive it really is to tow a giant barge out there with a crew. The landing ship does not have crew on it, but there's a support crew of like 5 guys. You have to employ them for X amount of time. I'm sure the numbers just literally add up where it's just cheaper to let it expend into the ocean instead of landing, recovering, think about the human labor aspect. Human labor is not cheap. By the time you get the drone ship out there, blah, 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 bring it back in, blah, 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 unload it, blah, 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 scrap it, blah, blah, blah. It probably ends up being more expensive in the long run. I am surprised that they don't care to recycle the engines, though. That's actually something I'm a little confused by. But I think they are upgrading the engines again for Block 5, just a little bit. Yeah, so maybe they just don't need them. They just don't need them. They obviously don't. They know what they're doing. Wow, that's crazy. Anonymous Freak, thank you for this, for the facts here. ISS orbits around 600 kilometers, increasing orbit to 400 ISS orbits at 400 kilometers, increasing that orbit to 600, changes it by less than 0.1 kilometers a second, or in other words, around 100 meters per second. That's still, I mean, that's not negligible, but that is how that works. It goes, yeah. Block 5 has 8% more power. Thank you very much, OD97. There we go. Those are the facts that I needed. Oh, Neuropilot. There we go. I like this. Satellites are in a higher orbit, and the latency gets really high. So that's a good reason compared to a ground tracking station. What's up with the fairing, asks Das. We don't know yet. Yeah, we don't know yet. we'll see. Hopefully. Oh, nope, still not. I'm waiting for Twitter to pop up with something, but I don't see anything yet. Try Race into Space, Cold War space strategy game. Okay, I will check that out. What platform is it? Is it I like space strategies. That sounds fun. I will check that out. Someone in Discord remind me later too when I forget what it was. Race into Space, Cold War. I'll remember. All right. Wish they would strip all the parts and sell the old blocks to fans. I agree with that very much. SC. They probably could sell parts of a Falcon 9 rocket. Just like a cutout. You get a 6-inch by 6-inch piece of a flown Falcon 9 booster. I'll bet you they could sell those for $1,000. So it'd be hard to imagine. I would love if they did that. That'd be amazing. And I'm surprised they aren't. They are giving away pieces of grid fins to employees, but yeah, that would be amazing. All right, well, guys, I think I'm going to head out. I have a lot of work to do today. I'm trying to get a video out by Tuesday. I have to get a video out by Tuesday. I'm doing a collaboration with Fraser Kane of Universe Today. It's going to be awesome. You'll see what the debate is. We're doing a this versus this. I think I'm going to win this one. I'm pretty confident I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm representing the much better option, obviously. And you will see why. You will see why. So that's going to be it, guys. I really appreciate everybody coming in here today and hanging out. Be sure and let your friends know if they have questions to come here, ask these questions. I try to provide resources for people when they have people that are like, why? I don't get why you're so excited about this stuff. That's what my videos are primarily for. Yes, us space nerds, we can hopefully learn together and get nerdier together. But the big thing for me is outreach, trying to get my parents excited, people that are just like, I don't get it. Just trying to get the general public excited. So I'm trying to provide resources that you can send to them. It speaks normal, everyday people language, and hopefully just spread the enthusiasm. So share my videos with your friends. I really appreciate that. And I just really appreciate all you guys spending your mornings and or afternoon and or night with me. I will be back. We will be live streaming Saturday night for the Hipposat. Is that what I can't even remember these days. There's just so many launches. I can't even keep track of them. It used to be like you'd wait weeks and months for launch. And now it's like, oh yeah, there's one in like 2 days. Great. Yeah, so join me. If you want to help support what I do, patreon.com/everydayastronaut. That's the best way. Like I said, I'll probably have to figure something out to do a giveaway here soon. Since we're all out of Space Shuttle Discovery pieces, maybe I'll find some more flown material. And I love giving away flown space stuff. I think that's awesome. A good way to give back. And so patreon.com/everydayastronaut if you want to help financially support. But also, if you want to have more fun, you can buy. I do have merchandise on my web store, including prints from launches like CRS-3, from Falcon Heavy. That's at everydayastronaut.com/shop. Check that out if you want to buy a print, t-shirts, mugs, hats, whatever you want. That stuff always helps. It's always greatly appreciated. And lastly, make sure you're following me on Twitter and Instagram or whatever social media platform you use. Find me on there. If you just search Everyday Astronaut, you'll find me. I say that. I normally say at Everyday Astronaut, but that's not true because Twitter, that's too long. So on Twitter, I'm Erday Astronaut. Thanks, Twitter. Yep, that's going to do it for me, guys. I, again, appreciate you guys all hanging out. It means the world to me. That's going to do it for me. We're going to see, my hotkey last time to end didn't work, so you might see me punch around for a minute. This will be great. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Bye, guys.
I think we all dreamt about going to space when we were kids. But when the space shuttle program ended in 2011, I discovered a void in my life. That emptiness led to a newfound obsession with space. A few years later, I wound up bidding on a Russian spacesuit as a joke. When the box arrived at my doorstep, my friends asked, "What are you going to do with a spacesuit?" The answer? What can't I do with a spacesuit? And that's how Everyday Astronaut was born. Since then, the suit hasn't left my side. It's even gone around the world with me. From remote villages in Myanmar,
Rockets and spaceships.
beautiful fields in Norway.
Fighting a cow to get a picture right now.
Here I am on vacation in the beautiful Norway with my beautiful boyfriend.
I even proposed to my wife in the suit at Machu Picchu in Peru. These days I work with leaders in the space industry to create fun and inspirational content. I've even been invited to different NASA facilities across the country, all for the sake of sharing my excitement with the world.
Hey there, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but NASA is doing some incredible...
This is church for us space nerds. This is where Gene Kranz was sitting when people first met him. This is with permission. I still don't know how. I love that I'm standing on something that says urine bags. This thing's gonna fly like a cat in heat. Whatever that means. That dog's gonna have a sore throat by the end of the day, I'll tell you that. Especially once he tries to explain to his friends that he just saw an astronaut flying majestically through the sky for an hour. This thing has officially become the bane of my existence.
Everyday Astronaut's mission is to bring space down to Earth for everyday people, to communicate science through humor and imagination, but most importantly, to spark your curiosity, to want to find your place in the cosmos. Join my adventures as I seek to find out why exploring space is important, inspiring, and quite frankly, really, really neat. Show your support by visiting patreon.com/everydayastronaut.